Hello, everybody. It's Larry. Here we are. Take 9,400,000 and whatever. Yeah, it's. If I wait till these to be perfect, you'll never see any of the videos. So I've just decided to, take a bite wherever it lands in the apple, and here we go. So as we left off in the last video, we talked about how you were 6,800, your parents were each 3,400. Every row added up to 6,800. So we went, you at 68, 34, 17, 850. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about plus one. Now, in short, the concept of plus one goes back to the whole idea of the MRCA, most recent common ancestor, singular, because every person is an individual. If we haven't proven that, by now it should be that you, even identical twins, identical triplets, whatever, you may share the genetic code, almost identical for the part of the genetic code that we see as far as the shape of your body and how you look. But behind the scenes, even your ethnicity can be different because, we got billions and billions and billions of genetic pieces that make us up individually. And you get that shared from your mom and dad. And while that small segment, and it is a small segment, that governs your looks are almost the same, the rest of it can be a scramble, and actually wildly scrambled in comparison to each other behind the scenes. So the plus one, right here, it's 3,400 to your dad, 3,400 to your mom. So you are, let's just say it right here. We're going to take it from the simplest term. Your dad to your dad is the MRCA, and he's 3,400 to you. Your mom to you is the MRCA on that side, and she's 3,400 to you. You are the combination of the MRCA of your mom and the MRCA of your dad because this is the node for which you connect. They're married and you share them. You're 6,800, you share both. Now, that starts being more evident when you go a little further out. So I'm going to take a sibling out here. We're going to go to your dad, which is one step, 3,400, and go down two steps, which is 1,700. Now, your siblings are siblings. It doesn't matter whether they're half or whole. The difference between a half and a whole is the plus one. Plus one is the full. Okay? But it needs to be thought of, conceptualized when you're doing this. See, we all think of full and then half being half of the fullness. But in reality, genetically, the half sibling is the full and the full sibling is like the double. Okay, and I'm going to explain that. As you come up here, you've got one step to dad, 3,400, two steps to the sibling, which is 1,700. All right, let's visualize this with the balls. One step to dad, two steps to them. Copy these balls down and the numbers. You can write them down manually. You can take a screenshot and print it, whatever, print screen this, use the clip art, whatever. This is going to help you a lot. You really need to get used to the ball method here, okay? Use the ball method. It will help you visualize things tremendously, especially when you start dealing with the patterns. After a while, it'll all just come together. So we got 1,700, 34 and 17, because there was two steps, the two balls out there. We went 1, 2, 17. All right? Now, if you share the other parent, that parent is a unique person made up of a whole unique tree of their own. This tree and this tree, unless there's endogamy or intermarriage or something else happens strange, is entirely separate over here. And even if there is endogamy and other things, the Centimorgans is still going to work out the same. All right, so you have the 3,400 from your dad down to 1,700 through here. So 1,700 through your dad. You also are going to have the same thing. When you add that back, it's going to be 3,400 because you're going to add 17 to it. So here's how it works. You to dad and down, 1,700. You to mom to the sibling is another 1,700. That's plus one more of the same thing. Plus one. 1,700 plus 1,700 is 3,400. So if this was what we call a half sibling, but I'm going to start calling it sibling. So if you have a sibling, they're 1,700. If you have a plus one sibling, that means you have plus one parent to them. Your MRCA is not a singular MRCA. You've got two MRCAs, and you've got to add each one of their unique genetic contributions to that person in order to get it. That's why, when we think of full and then half of that full, then that's a little more complicated. And you're trying to figure out, okay, do I have a full or got a half? But if you figure out that everybody is this connection to you, and they can have a plus connection to you, then it becomes much easier because you're starting with the foundation and building up. You're not trying to start with a big house and trying to divide and find out where in the house they are. So if you get used to this conceptually, it will help you tremendously in figuring out people quickly. Like I said, you'll just instantly see the number that they are. They're 1,700. Okay, I know where they're connected to me. They're 2 nodes away. Unless they've been +1 to get that 1,700. Well, how does that work? Well, let's go to the next example. The next example we have is a half aunt or uncle. Okay, denoted here in the red. So we go 34, 17, 850. They're 3 nodes away. So they went 1, 2, 3 nodes away to get to 850. All right. Again, the balls are really important to use. Now, that is the genetic code that we both share through the grandfather on the dad's side. I have that genetic, they have that genetic. That makes 850 of me. Because remember, this 1,700 and 1,700 combined to the 3,400 was dad. But half of that is to them, and then half of that comes to me. So we share that 850. Now, if they share the other parent, okay, then what's going to happen is they go 1 in blue, 2 in blue to here. So we go 1 to dad, 2 to dad's mother, and 3 over to this person. So that 1, 2, 3 that is for grandmother, and the 1, 2, 3, which is through the grandfather is in yellow, the grandmother is in blue. That 850 plus 1 more time of 850, 850 is 1,700. Because we have the base connection and MRCA. Now, if I'd have found the connection over here first, it would have been over here, been at 1, 2, 3, and then the next one would have been 1, 2, 3. Either way, if it has a dual connection, each one of these two contributed the 850 to this person to make them 1,700. Because remember, the 1,700, okay, they combine, that would have been the 1,700 too, to me. Because they would have still been that many nodes away. Still a little confusing? Let's try one more time, but we're going to help you with the example. So the 850, add the 850 to it, you get 1,700, got a clean slate. We're going to add in another person, this time in green. This time I'm just going to do it with you, but without the confusion of the overlay. So we go 1 to dad, 3,400, 2, 1,700, 3, 850, 4, now we're down to 425. Okay? So we're going to write that down, 425. Now, if they have the connection on the other side, we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go 34, 17, 850, 425, and we add that 425 through the grandmother to the 425 through the grandfather. Because see, this is the MRCA. This is the connecting node, not here, okay? I don't share the genetics with this person. This person has some of their genetics over here. That's not my person. I share part of it through here, but their other part came from, the parentals over here. All right? So this person right here, they were 1, 2, 3, 4 to me. I'm 1, 2, 3, 4 to them. That's 34, 17, 825, 425. Again, those balls are the key. 34, 17, 850, 425. We do that through the grandfather. If the grandmother is also the same, we do the same thing for them. But the balls are the key. You're going to have to make the connection. 1, 2 to 1,700. 1, 2 to 1,700. But even to 425, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 to the 425 through that grandfather. 1, 2, 3, 4, 425 through the grandmother. And that's how we got that. Copy this down, print it, copy it, whatever you need to do. Get used to using these balls. Using the ball method is going to help you visualize, because all of your DNA matches, and you're going to have 100,000 DNA matches, and they're going to be these random numbers, and they're going to be scary random numbers, but they all fit into these groupings. Now, not to scare you, but once you get past this node, okay, the genetics can start dropping off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once you get past this five generational distances, the number here can be anywhere from 0 to 200, 211, whatever. I think it says in DNA Painter what the low end of that is, but it can be 0 between that. But don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. The genetics and the Centimorgans, it's all going to work out the same. Learn the balls, learn the patterns. If you have a 53, then they're not a 0, so you don't have to worry about that, right? So if they have a 53, you know their distance is from you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 away from you. Okay? You know that they're not 7 up. That'd make them 140 years older than you. They're not 7 down. That would make them 140 years younger than you. All right? So if it was 6 and 1, that'd be 5. That'd make them 100 years older than you or 100 years younger than you. Still not the case. All right? So if we look at the pattern, now all those patterns are talked about in the that one example talked in the other video. But if you do that for all these numbers, you're obviously not going to have somebody that's 200 years older than you, 10 generations. So you know they're not going to be straight up. You know they're not going to be straight down. There's only a certain number of possible combinations for each one of these numbers. Each one of these numbers. And I'm sure that, of all the people out there that are doing this, somebody is going to take a derivative of this ball method and they're going to convert it into some other shape or color or something else. And now that they've seen this, help, show you an even better method. And I'm hinting to some people that have some websites out there already. But some people that can say, hey, I can help you cut through the clutter. There's only so many possibilities here. There's only so many possibilities. When you go out to said site and you use their Centimorgan tool, you'll notice that it has, your parent, grandparent, great-grandparent, their great-grandparent. It doesn't go way up above that. All those numbers are just under a few grandparents. That's because it's going up and down, okay? It's only going to go up so far before it starts going down to make that connection. Because remember, you took a test, they took a test. Now, they had to take the test while they're alive. They may have passed off since then, and you may pass away soon in relation to finding theirs on their side. But the truth of the matter is, they've been alive in the last few years. Generationally, you're both been alive at the same time at some point. Now, your DNA test may have come after they died still, but still, we're in that same 20-year period because this is a fairly new science. So as you take the test, you realize that, hey, you're going to be plus or minus a generation. There's only so many patterns that fit. And then when you realize that they had to be alive to take this test, they can't have been, 4 generations older than you or 4 generations below you without some extreme situation. So most likely, even 3 generations, that's 20, 40, 60 years age difference. If I'm 57, there's not somebody 60 years younger than me that has taken this test. It's not there. And if there's somebody 60 years older than me, possible, highly unlikely. Now, as time goes on and the DNA is in the database, that will become more likely. And then there'll be a different video. But for today, we're looking at 2 generational differences as being realistic. 1 or 2 generations. And depending on what the picture is on their public profile, I know people say, hey, it's private. It says public profile. Look at that public profile picture. If the person looks like a teenager, you probably have 2 distances away. If the person looks to be of our age, which the average viewer on this channel is 60-something years old, almost everybody, like 96% of the viewers are 55 and older. So if they look our age, they're not 60 years older than you. Okay? So the realism is you're looking at 1 generation difference in most all of the situations. There could be some rare situations where like an older sibling is a full generation older than the younger sibling and you tie into a family like that. So there can be 2. But in almost all situations, you're looking at the same or 1 generation plus or minus, and on rare occasions 2. But look at these balls. Get the balls. If it's a 212 kinship, okay, they're going to probably match you. You're up 1, 2, 3, and they're up 1, 2, or they're up 3 and you're up 2. That's a generational difference. It's already built into that. You just don't know which side of that generational difference is on. It's your parent, your grandparents, or your great-grandparents. Their grandparent or your great-grandparents. Now, what's great about this is if you learn this ball method and you learn those patterns, and again, I'm going to refer you back to the last video. If you learn those patterns, if they have a tree and you have a tree, you know that you connected either your grandparents or their grandparents. And most people, not all, most people have a fairly good idea who their parents are and who their grandparents are until, a DNA surprise changes things. But that means that either your grandparents or their grandparents, because it's either you up 2 and 3 or they're up 2 and down 3. Their grandparents or your grandparents. Okay? That's real important because grandparents are a very close kinship. You don't know which one you connect through, either their grandparents or your grandparents. But if it's a 2 and 3, 3 and 2 situation, one of you is a 2. It's either 2 and 3 for you or 3 and 2, which means they have a 2. Which means it's one of your grandparents. Which means it's one of 4 people on your side or one of 4 people on their side. Or said a different way, there's only 8 possible people to connect through. Even though there was 2 different patterns, there's only 8 people to connect through. So learn the ball and pattern method that is mentioned in the plus video or in the prior video. Understand this +1 concept. And in general, what it means is you get the DNA like from a parent, like you get a sibling. That's you. You go to your parent, let's say your dad, and then you go to let's say your brother. And then you come here, you go to your mom, and then go to your brother. You add those 2 together, 1,700, 1,700. If they share both your mom and your father, they're the 3,400 level. If they only share one of them, they're at the 1,700 level. Now, all these numbers are round numbers, and that's because DNA never divides equally. Well, I won't say that because sometimes it does divide almost equally. But the numbers that you get, rarely will it hit perfectly on 34, 17, 850. It's going to be, a 426, a 423. You might get some 425s. But as you get closer, these numbers won't be hit exact. Like my mom, I think is 3470 something. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. So, but that doesn't mean that I'm 6,900. For the purposes of this, 68, 34, 17, and divides on back to 6. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up if you found it useful. Up here, if it made you think, it might go up here. If you want to have more videos like this, I can use some coffee or some Dr. Pepper. I drink mostly Dr. Pepper. You can say, hey, I enjoyed the video. I'll buy you a couple of Dr. Peppers so that you can stay up late and do another one. So the QR code's in the top right. Just if you have an iPhone or Android, open up the part where you just take a picture and hold it over the QR code in the top right if you're watching on your computer. And it will actually bring up a link at the top of your phone. You just press it with your finger. It'll take you to PayPal. There's not a number. It's not a tiered thing. It's not asking for a specific amount. Whatever you feel like it helped you. If it helped you, a coffee's worth and you'd like to see another again, buy me a coffee so I can stay up late and make you another video. If you'd like me to make you more videos, you might take me out to dinner. Buy me a dinner there. So there it is, and you'll start seeing that at the top of all the videos. I'll mention it a few more times. I think it'll kind of stand out, and it won't be long until you'll see it everywhere. You saw it here first. So remember, use this one first, and then you can start using the other ones as well. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, do so. Click the bell notification. It's the only way you'll know for sure when the next one comes out. There have been some periods of time where I've gone 1 or 2 months without a video coming out. And that way, if you click the bell notification, you'll know when the next one comes out. It's just me. I continually make these things, but then I shelve them because they're not quite right, or I felt they didn't really convey the message. And sometimes, like this one, I just have to shove it out the door, or you wouldn't have it at all. So I apologize for these last 2 videos and how clunky they were, but I've been bottlenecked trying to figure out how to get those out. So I'm just going to throw the paint on the canvas. And tried to talk you through those, and then we'll answer questions on it, and we'll polish that up, a little bit later. And they're actually, this ball method is actually going to, I hope, come out in a book form that actually has some workable puzzles that'll kind of get you through the ball methodology, using it to solve the distances, give you some examples, made up examples of people, of course, and then, you know, how to calculate, okay, so this is a full kinship, half kinship, or like I like to call it, this is a kinship or a +1 kinship. And if you start thinking at it from that perspective instead of half and full, then the numbers start making a lot more sense to you. So if you can, I would probably recommend dialing off of the half and full vernacular. And, you know, I know some people say there's no such thing as a half cousin. They're either your cousin or they're not. And that's true. They're your cousin. The question is, are you a cousin +1? You know, do you have, you know, +1 MRCA, or do you have only one MRCA? You have one common ancestor, or do you have two common ancestors right there? That's the only difference. So you have one, every cousin or half cousin, however you want to term it, has a common MRCA. The question is, do you have +1? Do you have one more of those? If you have one more of those, then you add that number back in for double the amount. That's it. All right. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found it useful. Hint, hint, click the QR code, or Santa may not come to your house this year. No, I'm just kidding. He'll still come to your house, but hey, doesn't hurt. So don't forget to check out that QR code, and we'll talk to you all again soon.